Hey, Browns fans, Spencer German with you from Browns Digest out in Berea with another edition of one of our practice reports. And unfortunately, it's more bad news for the Cleveland Browns in a week that's been dominated by injury news the last couple of days after the Sunday's win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. It didn't get any better for Cleveland on Wednesday. We already knew as of as of Monday rather, that DeJuan Jones was placed on the IR with a knee injury. His season was over. We also found out in the last couple of days that Jedrick Wills, who's already been on the IR with a knee injury, is now also done for the season. There was hope that he could return to the field at some point later this year. That is now not the case. He will remain on the IR, and his season is over. It got worse on Wednesday with news that on top of those two injuries, we also got word that Grant Delpit will go to the IR as he continues to deal with a groin injury now that he suffered in that game against the Jaguars. And his season, regular season, I should say, is over. But there is hope that he can return at some point for Cleveland if they are to make the playoffs, which obviously is something that we think is likely to happen for this team. But another unfortunate blow to the defense there. And we know he's at least out for the remainder of the regular season here. He will not be part of this home stretch. On top of that, we got news that Obo Okoronkwo, talented depth defensive end on the defensive side of the ball, is likely to head to the IR with what's a torn pec or a pec injury that Kevin Stefanski did not seem very optimistic about the possibility that he will be okay. Essentially, he was asked straight up, is this something that will be season ending? He said it's trending that way, but he's holding out hope that it isn't going to be that. So it seems like one of those situations where they're getting a second opinion, they're getting it double checked, but it does not look good for Obo Okoronkwo as well. So two more defensive players, two key defensive players at that, because Okoronkwo has been a great depth piece on this team. He signed the 3-year, $19 million contract in the offseason as part of this unit that Andrew Berry really emphasized revamping along the defensive front. And the thought process was, yeah, this is a great move as you pair him with Myles Garrett and you pair him with Zadarius Smith, who obviously came along a little bit later in the offseason. He's been he's done exactly what you would expect his role to be. 4.5 sacks. He's got 8 quarterback hits. He was providing some pressure, making some plays here or there, picking his spots, and that's what you were expecting from him. So it's another unfortunate blow as an area that was a strength for the Browns has now, I'm not going to say become a weakness because you still got Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith out there, but it certainly has become a concern that you lose a lot of the depth in that position group specifically at a position that we know in the NFL today does get a lot of rotational players in there. It's constantly moving guys in and out. So to lose another one is an unfortunate blow, along with the fact that we got the news Maurice Hurst is going to the IR, which came down obviously yesterday. So it's just been injury after injury after injury. It has defined this season, unfortunately for the Browns, despite the fact that they've continued to win games. And it's remarkable, really, at this point. 13 players have now been basically ruled out for the season with season-ending injuries. You could count Delpit as a 14th in the sense that his regular season is over. But obviously, like I said, there is hope he returns for the postseason. So that's, I guess, on the one positive inkle of hope you get on the injury front today from Cleveland, or from the Browns rather. But yeah, it's been an epidemic this year, and frankly, spending several years on the beat of teams, this has been unlike anything I've ever seen in terms of the injury front. Like, yes, injuries are going to happen in the NFL, but to see this just exuberant amount is getting pretty excessive. I mentioned, though, the team staying resilient. It's been the story of the season, injury after injury after injury, a whole boatload of them kind of getting dumped on the team this week. And they continue to just preach that they're going to continue to try to respond. It's that next man up mentality that they've kind of lived by all season. And I thought Joe Flacco had some pretty poignant words on reflecting on just the sheer number of injuries they've dealt with this year and why this team's kind of been able to stay afloat and stay focused, and it hasn't gotten morale down inside the building.
I've probably been part of seasons where we've been injured like this. I don't know if anywhere we're still standing 8-5. So I think the fact that we've been able to go out there, these guys have been able to go out there and still put it together a bunch of wins has definitely helped the mindset in terms of that. Obviously, if it was the other way, you wouldn't be feeling as good. But I think going out there and winning cures all.
He mentions there at the end, winning cures all, and I know it's a cliche. We all like to throw that out there, but I think it's very true. If this season had gone south because of X number of injuries, like I said, 13 guys who are now done for the season with injuries that have cost them their seasons. Yeah, we'd be maybe having a different conversation. Vibes in that locker room maybe wouldn't be as good, and I do wonder about how flawless it would be going with that next man up mentality. It does seem like to this point in a number of areas that have been ravaged by injuries, you haven't really missed a beat, which has been obviously a positive thing for this team that they've responded in that way. But if you're not winning games, if it's the opposite of what we're seeing now, yeah, that stuff certainly weighs on a team more. It's beneficial that they're in the playoff hunt, they're in the picture, and they are 8-5 right now with a chance to clinch a playoff berth here coming up in the next couple of weeks. And that does kind of lead me to the next thing I want to hit on here momentarily because we played the clip from Flacco there. And all you hear about around this Browns locker room is just his presence and the poise that he brings and his demeanor in the huddle in tight situations. He just doesn't waver. He's steady as they come. He brings something that this team maybe has been lacking with any of the other quarterbacks that they've obviously played this season. And that includes Deshaun Watson to an extent because he hasn't seen everything that Joe Flacco has seen throughout a now 16-year career as the Browns starting quarterback this season. So I think the fact that he is here, and it feels like as this story's been incredible to begin with. The fact that a guy a couple weeks ago who was sitting on his couch watching these games is now starting a quarterback for you and doing it effectively and playing very well to boot is an impressive feat and a fun story for anybody who follows the NFL. It's got to be one of the best stories going right now. But I do think because of his experience, because of that savviness and that football IQ that he has, and the fact that he's seen so many different things, I think that bodes well for a team like Cleveland who's dealing with all these injuries down the stretch. Like it feels like he was, I don't know if it's some sort of divine intervention that he ends up here and it's the perfect time for him given everything that this team's dealt with and given kind of where they're at in the season with things were maybe teetering at the quarterback position. You lose Deshaun Watson, he comes in, provides stability, and he gets to be the guy captaining this offense as they try to make a run to the playoffs. I thought Kevin Stefanski talked about that a little bit as well. Here's what he had to say on having the veteran Joe Flacco's presence on this team and in this locker room.
I think again it speaks to Joe's, his expertise in this game. He's played a long time. He's seen a lot, and he's definitely willing to share what he's seen with his teammates. I think he does a great job in our meeting room with the quarterbacks. I think Dorian and PJ can learn a lot from the different things that he's seen. But anytime you've had turns at this, anytime you've played in these games, you've played in big games. I think that informs you and how you deal with the things that are coming at you, and they're coming at you fast now as well.
Yeah, I think Stefanski gets it. Like he understands what Flacco brings to the table. It has certainly rubbed off on his teammates, and they have certainly rubbed off on him. The fact that he continues to just talk about how he feels like a little kid and he's just enjoying every single day and enjoying the experience. The fact that he's been able to really just endear himself to this team so quickly has been part of that wonderful story that we follow with him anyway. But I do think, like I said, his presence on this team is going to be crucial down the stretch of the season here. The fact that he doesn't waver despite how many injuries this team's dealing with, despite how tight a situation might be, that's what you need to win December football games. And I think the Browns are well positioned to do that, having him here. He came at the perfect time. And as this team tries to overcome now more injuries, more blows to the roster, his ability to effectively run this offense and deliver that stability at the quarterback position is going to be key to what the Browns do from here and where they go. I also want to give you a couple other injury notes. These aren't quite as daunting as the news we talked about at the top of this practice report, but guys who did not practice today: Jordan Elliott, who's out with a concussion currently, running back Kareem Hunt, who's dealing with a groin injury of his own. We mentioned Obo Okoronkwo, who could be done for the season as well. He's got that pec injury that they're, I guess, getting a second opinion on to see where he's at and what his status is moving forward. But again, likely that we get news in the coming days on whether or not his season is over. Ethan Posick, who I did catch a video of, he walked out of sort of the interior part of the practice facility, the field house part of the practice facility, and was seen with the other guys who had veteran days off today. Also, Juan Thornhill dealing with that calf injury that he suffered pre-game before kickoff with the Jaguars. I know that was a concerning one. He's had some lower leg injuries to deal with already this season, but he was not out there today as well. But it didn't seem like it was overly serious. He was kind of, again, with that group of veteran players who always get their Wednesdays off, like Myles Garrett, David Njoku, Joel Bitonio, etc. So that's the latest on the injury front. I know it's daunting. It's been a lot. It's been nonstop with this Browns team. They continue to try to battle and rally from it, and we'll see if they can continue to do that when they get ready to face the Bears coming up on Sunday. That's the thing. There's no rest for the weary in the NFL, despite all the injuries. Another game looms large here in a couple days. We are looking forward to covering it and counting you down to kickoff with Chicago on Sunday at Cleveland Browns Stadium. We'll do that over at BrownsDigest.com, right here as well on the Browns Digest YouTube page. I'll be back with you tomorrow. Another practice report for Thursday. We'll see where the Browns are at on the injury front and who could be ready to go and who won't be ready to go as we get you ready for that Bears game. Again, follow along with all things Cleveland Browns over at BrownsDigest.com.